Okay, so I'm going to talk about Chapter 8 of Children of the Matrix. The chapter, The Architecture of Separation. Now remember, this book was written in 2001. It was published. I read it back then, but it's so important for these times we're in. Okay, and this chapter talks about the greatest illusion humanity ever accepted is separation. Not just separation from each other, but separation from ourselves. Because one of the deepest themes in this chapter of Children of the Matrix is the idea that division may not be accidental, that fragmentation shapes perception, weakens awareness, and keeps humanity disconnected from its deeper nature. And honestly, the more I sat with this chapter, the more I realized how many modern life reinforces separation, not only socially, psychologically, spiritually, internally. Let's go there. One thing this chapter explores deeply is division through identity, race, religion, politics, nationality, belief systems. Human beings separated into categories. And once identity becomes stronger than awareness, people stop listening. They defend, attack, react emotionally. And that pattern has repeated throughout history because divided people are easier to manipulate emotionally than connected people. That's not conspiracy, that's psychology. And maybe one of the deepest questions this chapter has is what happens when humanity forgets its interconnectedness. This chapter made me realize how deeply separation is conditioned into people. Competition over connection, fear over trust, labels over understanding, and eventually people begin seeing each other as categories instead of consciousness. That's powerful, because once people stop recognizing humanity in each other, division becomes normal, and fear grows easily in separation. This pattern is everywhere right now, not just politically, personally too. And honestly, this chapter hit me internally too, because separation doesn't only happen socially. People become separated from themselves, from their families, separated from intuition, separated from stillness, separation from meaning. And many people live in survival mode for so long, they forget what interconnection even feels like. That's profound, because awakening may begin the moment someone reconnects inwardly, when they stop living only through reaction and conditioning and begin listening to something deeper. When we go within, we connect to our spirit within that connects us to the Great Spirit. Whether you believe in God, Great Spirit, there's so many things, but it's that universal energy that created us all, that we all come from. And we can get disconnected from that. When we take on these separation roles, we disconnect from spirit. So it fragments humanity, right? This chapter, made me think a lot about fragmentation. The mind separated from the soul, people separated from nature, emotion separated from awareness, and fragmented people often search outside themselves for identity and belonging. That's why external systems become so powerful, because disconnected people look outward for what they no longer feel inwardly. And maybe awakening is really the process of becoming whole again, not becoming something new, reintegrating what was divided, which is the separation, the great separation, when we became human. One thing history shows over and over is fear grows fastest when separation exists. There are people who look different, think differently, believe differently, and once fear dominates perception, people stop seeing clearly. They stop seeing humanity. They only see labels. And maybe consciousness asks us to move beyond. Not blindly, not naively, but consciously, with discernment and awareness. The deeper I sat with this chapter, the more I realized awakening may actually be reconnection to intuition, to stillness, to humanity, to nature, to truth, to the parts of ourselves buried beneath conditioning. Because separation creates fragmentation, but awareness restores wholeness. Maybe that's why so many people feel empty right now. They've become disconnected from themselves, and no external system can fully heal that. Only consciousness can, and reconnecting to spirit can, and that comes within. My biggest takeaway from this chapter is simple. Separation may be one of humanity's deepest illusions, not because people are identical, but because consciousness itself is interconnected. And maybe awakening begins the moment we stop asking, who is against me? And start asking, what reconnects me to truth? Because perhaps the real architecture humanity needs to rebuild is connection. Maybe the greatest illusion was never that humanity was powerless. Maybe it was convincing humanity it was separate. If this resonates, please subscribe and share, because this message can awaken people if they just understand where they're disconnected. And you know, I am walking chapter by chapter through the Children of the Matrix, consciousness, sovereignty, and awakening. Tell me in the comments, do you think modern life disconnects people from themselves or reconnects them? All right, thanks for listening, guys, and please share if you can and subscribe. This message, really is an important one, I believe, and I'll be sharing more. Stay tuned. Have a great day, everyone.